Wow, it's kind of hard to even remember. I've been involved so long. I know I went to the Cajun Nationals in Baton Rouge. I live in Louisiana, and that's where I was introduced to it, and I saw pro stock motorcycles going on the racetrack, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I've been riding motorcycles since I was 6 years old. I've done it all: street bikes, dirt bikes, drag bikes. I have an obsession with motorcycles. I grew up with a big poster of Terry Vance on the wall of my bedroom, where other girls had Rick Springfield and things like that. Well, mine was Terry Vance doing a burnout on his motorcycle. I just idolized him. He was the best, on the pro stock motorcycle. I wanted to learn from him. I wanted to meet him. I wanted to work with him. I decided I have to write a letter. I actually saw the movie Rudy. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but I kind of just followed what Rudy did and wouldn't take no for an answer. So I wrote a letter to Frank Hawley's and I told him who I was and what I wanted to do. I said I'm racing a super comp bike, I want to race a pro stock motorcycle, and I signed it, Angelle Sampey, future pro stock motorcycle world champion. I had never even touched or seen a pro stock motorcycle in person other than, going on the racetrack from the grandstands. And here I am saying I am going to be a pro stock motorcycle world champion, but guess what? I made it happen. I went to Frank Hawley's drag racing school several times, and one of the classes, Matt Hines was in, from Vance and Hines, and that was the first time I ever met him. Well, Matt and I became pretty good friends through school, and I was traveling with the race team and learning about pro stock motorcycle racing, and I was eventually going to compete, so I was there rooting for Matt and watching Matt race, because he started a year before I did. Then when I started racing, and I became very competitive pretty early on, I won the 4th race I ever competed in. I was #1 qualifier, won the race, and set the world record. That right there let Matt know that I'm not here to play around. And he and I were the two that were winning every other race, and we just became such good rivalries. It was such a good rivalry on and off the track. It was great for the sport, it was great for our teams, it was great for the fans. I always knew Vance and Hines was awesome. I knew how competitive they were. But in my mind and in my heart, they were the enemy. That's who I have to beat, and they were the hardest to beat. And I just made it my goal in life was to beat anybody on a Vance and Hines motor, anybody racing for them, whether it was Matt or Andrew or someone who rented engines from them. That's who I have to beat. I got to beat Vance and Hines. They're my enemy. And then Eddie came along, and they were just as good or better. The amount of wins was sickening almost. I made jokes with them like, how many green hats do you need? How many yellow hats do you need? It's ridiculous. You guys need to let somebody else win. And I want to beat them so bad because I want to beat the best. To be the best, you have to beat the best. And I know Andrew and Eddie are two of the best out there. I've always seen them from a distance, and I've watched them. You want to watch your competitors and see what you need to do to beat them. Harley-Davidson is truly unbelievable. I've watched the race team at the track, how professional they are, how clean the pits are. It's everything every racer wants to be a part of. It is the epitome of drag racing and the perfect team out there. I've wanted to ride a Harley-Davidson motorcycle on the drag strip for many, many years now, but I just never thought that would ever happen because of the rivalry between myself and the team. I always knew that if they ever offered it, I'd take the chance in a heartbeat, but I just didn't think they'd ever offer it. I was looking for another ride, and I was actually trying to decide if I even wanted to continue. Maybe it was time for me to go home. So we were going to put a press release out saying that I was done with the race team that I was with. And then Terry Vance calls a couple of weeks later and says, "How bad do you want this?" And I told him, I said, "I will give you my child." And of course we both laughed about it, and he said, "Don't say that because I'll take her." But I said, "Well, you know what I mean, that's how bad I want to do it." So he said, "Okay, I'm going to give you an opportunity." He says, "You have 4 races to prove yourself." It's amazing to know that this opportunity is here. I'm hoping that I can prove myself to them and that it'll last a really long time, because it's not an opportunity that many people will ever get. I am now the official driver of one of the Harley-Davidson street rods. I'm still overwhelmed with that idea, and I know my competitors are wondering what's really going to happen. I know that they know what's capable from this team. They know what Andrew and Eddie can do. I know that they still don't know what I can do. And boy, let me tell you, what they have to look out for is when I am 100% comfortable on that motorcycle, it's going to be hard to beat.